In 1978, 16-year-old Bridget Geiger was waiting outside her home in Ohio for a boy named Jeffrey to take her to prom. He was known to be really nervous around girls, and so she figured it was going to be a pretty awkward date, but she really wanted to go to prom, so she said yes. When Jeffrey showed up, she was immediately disappointed. Bridget's mom would take a couple of very awkward photos of them kind of stiffly standing in front of her house before they ultimately got in Jeff's car and headed for the prom. When they arrived, Bridget wanted to go on the dance floor to see her other friends to kind of lighten the mood because she was not having a good time with Jeffrey so far. So she just says, hey, I'd like to just go home. And so Jeffrey is mortified and he tells her, I wanted this to be a nice evening for you. I'm sorry it wasn't. He drives her home. He says goodbye. He drives off, and that was that. A week after prom, Jeffrey actually invited her to come over his house for a house party. And Bridget's like, there's no way this kid's throwing a house party. But she was polite and said, sure, I'd love to come to your house party. She gets there and there's no food, there's no music, there's like 3 people there, and as soon as she walks in, all Jeffrey wanted to do was have a seance and communicate with the devil. She was so immediately creeped out by Jeffrey's behavior that after only a couple of minutes, she just turned around and left his house party and did not see him again. Well, until 13 years later when she would read about him in the newspaper. 13 years later, on July 22nd, 1991, Milwaukee, Wisconsin police spot a man named Tracy Edwards running down the road in handcuffs. They run over to him and they say, what's going on? And he says that a man was holding him hostage and he threatened to kill me. I was able to overpower him and escape, and here I am. The police go to this apartment and the police are confronted by this tall man who introduces himself as Jeffrey. He tells police this is all a big misunderstanding and that Tracy Edwards is a friend of his and I don't know what's gotten into him, and the police were actually close to believing him. But as they're talking to him, one of the officers kind of looks behind Jeffrey into his apartment and he sees on the coffee table what are clearly pictures of dismembered body parts. And so they arrest Jeffrey, and when his apartment was fully searched, a house of horrors is revealed. In addition to photos of body parts, the apartment itself was littered with human remains. There were several human heads in the freezer and the refrigerator, and in his bedroom was a 57-gallon drum containing more dead bodies that were decomposing in chemicals. There was also evidence that suggested Jeffrey was eating these people, because Jeffrey turned out to be none other than infamous serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed 17 people over a 13-year period. Just days after this picture was taken of Jeffrey and Bridget, right before they headed off to prom together, Jeffrey would kill his first victim and start that 13-year killing spree. Dahmer was ultimately given a life sentence, but was killed by another inmate.